to respond. The future of Cochise County relies on the relationships we form with state and federal leaders. How do you plan to build strong, collaborative relationships that will ensure Cochise County has a place and a voice and is respected throughout the state of Arizona and in Washington?
It's really important for a supervisor to be able to get along well with others. And that includes community members, state and local officials, and to develop relationships with other supervisors. So I would reach out and I would establish a line of communication with state officials and work to support our economic development in our county, and make sure that we have community engagement. Knowing what the community's needs are helps to make a stronger case when you're speaking to state and federal officials especially. So they know what's going on here and they know what our constituents need. So I'm happy to speak with anyone. I love talking to people. And so I would be a great candidate to be able to speak with state and local officials to get our county things that we need by developing relationships.
Joy, you have 60 seconds.
Relationships is key. That is absolutely the most important thing a supervisor does. Yes, there's all these other things, but if we don't have relationships with all of the agencies down here, and there are so many, 30, 40, 50, I don't even know how many, let alone individual businesses, individual nonprofits, individual agencies that I'm not even aware of. That is key, and I have done that, and it is so fulfilling to actually meet with these movers and shakers and listen to them and help them just by being on a board, just by attending their meetings. And that is what I intend to do, and I intend to have reports. I know that our county supervisors go to this and they go to that, they go to the CEGO and they go to the SVMPO meetings. There's no reports. So I'm going to have reports. I'm going to include it in the agendas, you know, and I'll do it at the last part of the Board of Supervisors meeting. But I intend to have reports of every meeting I go to, so you know what I have been doing.
Jacob, you have 60 seconds.
For the last 12 years of my career with the Sheriff's Office, a lot of what I did was when politicians want to be politicians, movers and shakers from throughout the country, when they wanted to know what was going on the border, they came down here and I took them down on the border and I showed them what was going on and I showed them the reality of what Cochise County is going through on a daily basis, so that they could take that information and go back to wherever it is, New Jersey, New York, wherever it was, and they could take that information back. So education is key when it comes to being able to talk with these folks and telling them what's going on, what we're facing down here, and then learning what's going on where they're at, so that we can have an open line of communication with our state legislatures, with our federal representatives, and then we also need to be leaders within our county. We need to have those relationships built with our cities and our towns, so that when somebody comes from the state and they want to talk about an issue.
Give them 30 seconds.
Frank, you have 60 seconds.
Well, I mean, I think the relationship should also include international. So, especially if you want to bring great businesses into Arizona, you have to have that relationship with our international partners, specifically Mexico and Canada, and a bunch of other countries that are willing to bring industry here. So that relationship, I do that now. I do business with about 21 different countries. So I already have that foreign relationship there. Of course, the federal relationship, I spend a lot of time, unfortunately, in Washington, D.C. in my line of work, and I interact with professional staff, members of the House and Armed Services, Senate, Budget, and Armed Services Committees. So I deal with a lot of the nuts and bolts of Washington, D.C. now to try to get funding and jobs here in Southern Arizona. Of course, I have a really good relationship with current legislative representation from Cochise County. I served in the legislature with two of the three that are our current representatives, and I believe I have a good relationship with them. And of course, with Mr. Ciscomani, I've known Mr. Ciscomani for about 18 years, and he and I get along really well, and I think he and I would be able to cooperate unremarkably for Cochise County.
Okay, we are halfway through.